Last night, something happened that I can't stop thinking about. I was physically attacked. Not badly, but enough to leave a bruise and a much deeper mark in my mind. It wasn't about pain. It was about realization, about what happens when people start to believe they're entitled to your time, your attention, your life. I was leaving a restaurant after a late dinner. It had been a long day, meetings, calls, decisions, and all I wanted was to go home and rest. As I walked to my car, someone shouted behind me, "Elon! Elon Musk!" I turned and saw a man jogging toward me with his phone out, a big smile on his face. I knew exactly what was coming. I've lived this moment countless times. A fan, excited, wanting a selfie, a handshake, maybe to pitch an idea. Usually I say yes. I understand that for them it's a big deal. But that night I just couldn't. I was drained. I needed space. So when he reached me, I said, "Hey, I'm sorry, not tonight. I'm really tired." His smile vanished instantly. His expression hardened, confusion turning to anger. He said, "Come on, man, just one picture, 2 seconds." But I repeated, "I'm sorry, not tonight." And that's when everything changed. He stepped close, too close, and his tone shifted. "You think you're too good for regular people? You think you're better than everyone else?" His voice got louder. I could see people on the sidewalk turning to watch. And before I could step back or say anything, he shoved me hard. I stumbled, caught myself, and felt something hit my cheek. The shove didn't hurt, but it shook me. Because it wasn't just anger, it was entitlement. He shouted, "I've supported you for years. I've made you rich. You can't take 2 seconds for one picture?" Then he stormed off, still yelling into the night. I stood there, stunned, my heart pounding, not from fear, but from what that moment represented. The idea that my no, my simple boundary, had turned me into the bad guy. On the drive home, I couldn't stop thinking, when did no stop being enough? When did people start believing they're entitled to something from others, even strangers? That saying no to a demand is an insult. I'm 53. I've been in the public eye for decades. I've seen how admiration slowly turns into expectation, how thank you turns into you owe me. And it's not just about fame. This happens everywhere. In families, friendships, workplaces, people think access to you means ownership of your time, that caring means compliance, that if they want something, you have to give it. But no one, not me, not you, owes anyone else their time or energy just because they ask for it. What unsettled me most wasn't the push. It was his belief that I deserved it, that my no was wrong, that boundaries are offensive. It made me realize how deeply entitlement has infected our culture. People confuse kindness with obligation. They confuse connection with control. How many times have you said yes when you wanted to say no, just to avoid guilt, just to avoid being called selfish or rude? How many times have you burned out trying to please everyone around you, saying yes out of obligation instead of desire? We live in a world where no has become a threat, not a choice, where boundaries are seen as walls instead of self-respect. And the result is exhaustion, emotional exhaustion, because we're constantly giving pieces of ourselves away to people who believe they deserve them. When I got home, I looked at myself in the mirror, at the small bruise near my eye, and I thought about every moment I've said yes when I didn't want to. Every time I gave more than I could afford to give. Every time I felt guilty for choosing myself. Why do we feel bad for protecting our own peace? Why does saying no make us question our goodness? Maybe it's how we're raised. Maybe we inherit this belief that being good means always being available, that selflessness means self-erasure. But that's wrong. Being kind doesn't mean being used. Being generous doesn't mean being accessible 24/7. I called a friend this morning and told him what happened. He said, "Elon, people forget you're human. They see success, not fatigue. They see fame, not limits." He's right, but this isn't just about me. It's about everyone who's ever been made to feel guilty for having boundaries. We all have the right to say no, without apology, without guilt, without explanation, because boundaries aren't selfish, they're necessary. They would allow you to show up fully for the people and things that truly matter. If someone gets angry when you say no, that's not your problem. That's their entitlement showing. If someone attacks you physically or emotionally because you didn't give them what they wanted, that's not your fault. Their inability to respect your limits is their weakness, not yours. That man thought he supported me, that I owed him something. But true support doesn't come with conditions. Real admiration isn't transactional. If your support demands access, it's not support, it's control. Maybe that's what I learned last night. Boundaries don't make you unkind, they make you human. And if someone can't accept your no, they never asked, they were taking. So to anyone who's ever felt guilty for saying no, stop apologizing. Stop explaining. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to exist without always giving. Because you don't owe anyone your time. You don't owe anyone your energy. You don't owe anyone anything except yourself. The right to live with peace and self-respect.